Everyone, and welcome to another edition of the In Conversation With series. I'm Naomi, a Careers and Employability Coordinator here at the university, and today I'm joined by Jen Pomfrey. Jen is a front-end developer and multidisciplinary designer with 12 years industry experience and has been designing websites for almost 2 decades. She holds a degree in graphic design from the Cumbria Institute of the Arts and moved into digital design whilst working at IPC Media on its groundbreaking publication Wallpaper. Her career prior to Beta saw her working at various London advertising agencies, including Outside Line and Saatchi & leading creative for numerous international brands such as Recorded Cider. She then moved into the music industry, working for MA Group, rebranding its music venues and working on marketing collateral for its major music festivals, such as Lovebox, The Great Escape and Wilderness Festival. In 2014, Jen joined forces with Mark Brown and Pete Coward to create Beta, developing Mark's idea from concept to working model. Beta then launched in 2015, and during that time, Jen has led all areas of design and front-end development. With substantial funding from the CMF in 2020, Jen has overseen the expansion of the development team, taking on the role of Head of Product. Jen, great to have you with us today.
Thank you very much. Nice intro.
Good to have you here. So, I suppose to kick off, did you always want to work in a creative job role?
Yeah, I guess I kind of have a fairly typical kind of transition into creative. I was one of those kids that was always handed the crayons by my mum and dad, always encouraged to kind of, be creative and use my imagination and do those things. And then basically as I kind of grew older, I started playing with computers. Around the age of 11, I started building websites for horses, which was a pretty interesting way to get into it. Realized that actually I quite enjoyed doing a lot of digital arts. And yeah, that was kind of my movement into it. I had quite a fascination of how magazines were made and literally collected hundreds of magazines. I was making collages daily and decorating my room with rip outs of magazines as well, and just continued drawing, and just kind of figured it made sense. Had a brief moment where I toyed with the idea of doing history, and then basically got accepted into art school and was like, no, actually this is where I want to go. So here we are.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So it's something, I suppose, that creative kind of industry and creative life has always been something that's been present in your life then. In terms of your career journey so far, how then did you find out about the world of work in design and media? Was that through your time at Cumbria, or did it kind of come before or after that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a funny one because I didn't really realize what I was doing when I was playing with computers very early on, that it was a job. I just thought it was just something fun that people did. And kind of think that really what I realized was that, people designed magazines, and I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work in the magazine industry. That's a creative career that you can make money off. Obviously, there was the usual stigma of being an artist meant that you wouldn't make money. And I kind of was like, well, I'm not, I'm creative. I like drawing and I like painting, but I don't want to be an artist. And kind of found my way into that kind of magazine world as a kind of, okay, that's a career, and sort of rolled with that. Then I got to Cumbria and basically had my eyes opened to an entirely massive world of creative industry and all of the different opportunities there. Basically done by going and doing an art foundation in 2004, and the foundation team were amazing at basically just saying, like, this is a massive world full of many opportunities, and magazines is not just the way you need to go.
That's really interesting. And then, so you have moved to London and then to Australia for work after studying at Cumbria. What was that experience like? And what would you say to graduates who are perhaps thinking of, making that relocation for work as well?
Yeah, it was, I was very lucky. I had a sister who's about 8 years older than me, who had been living down in London basically since I was 18. So I had a very nice ability to be able to kind of move down there and live with her for a bit when I first moved down to London. I had a lot of friends, however, who weren't as lucky as I was, who also moved down to London at the same time. And my advice, certainly from my own experience and theirs in particular, is make sure you budget and save some money before you go down there. I appreciate that's really kind of difficult when you're still at uni to be kind of saving money with the prospect of going there. But certainly if you're looking at doing internships and maybe kind of, very entry level jobs, then you're not going to get paid a huge amount of money to be able to rent a nice place in London and then kind of be able to go out and do all the fun things as well. So try and keep a bit of money in your pocket. But it was incredible. It was definitely a really exciting move. I was really lucky to land an internship pretty much within the first month of being down there, which was great because at that time it was kind of sort of like the pandemic in the sense that the financial crisis hit and everywhere basically was sort of folding or reducing all of their entry level jobs. So I happened upon a digital role. Digital at that point was still kind of going pretty strong, and I just managed to jump into a position there at the right time. I think basically take opportunities that are kind of thrown your way because you never know where they'll lead you, essentially. Like, it wasn't the job that I thought I was going to have, but ended up being one of the best kind of decisions I ever made, simply because I was lucky enough to apply for it and get it. And it sent me on this trajectory. So it was good. Then moving to Australia 8 years later, kind of a similar thing. I just kind of took a chance and here I am. I, at that point, had started working on Beta. We work as a fully remote team anyway. So compared to other companies, when turning around and saying, I'm going to move to the other side of the world, most of the time they'd be like, okay, catch you later. I was able to basically take my work with me, which is obviously very helpful being co-founder as well. But I think as being in a creative industry that kind of is very digital, we have the opportunities to be able to kind of move wherever we want. I have colleagues and friends who basically do just travel the world in a normal world. They do travel the world kind of all year round and just make sure they go to places with good internet. So, opportunities are there for you if you want them. Obviously, different countries have different kind of rules in terms of how long you're allowed to work there. I ended up taking a full-time job when I got here so that I could get a visa. Obviously, I wanted the job as well, but it was particularly so I could get a visa and stay in the country. And that was a kind of a balance there as well for a bit, trying to work out whether, I carried on with Beta kind of full-time or did it part-time. But yeah, finding out what the work rules are and going that way is definitely worth taking a risk.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like it's worked out really well for you, which is great. So in terms of Beta then, I suppose lots of people we've spoken to as part of these series has said that, there's no such thing as a typical workday for them, and maybe it's similar for you. But could you talk us through perhaps what a workday might look like for you, the kinds of things that it might involve, and things that you find challenging or, satisfying or beneficial to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely right. There is no kind of typical work day, but I do have a fairly kind of structured day because I do kind of have weekly meetings that sort of dictate the structure of my day. Because our company is fully remote, we do actually work with people. Our team are based in, I'm the only one in Australia, but we have people in Sweden, the UK, and Canada. And both sides of Canada as well, so both the East Coast and the West Coast. So my meetings basically kind of range the entire way across my day. So typically, I would say every other day I will wake up at 6 for a 7 a.m. meeting. And then that basically is kind of a case of me catching up with Europe and Canada at the same time. So that would be my co-founder and our marketing manager. And then once we're done with that would normally be like an hour's meeting. I will kind of go about, have breakfast, take the dog for a walk. And recently I've just started working from a co-working space. So I will then drive over there. Once I get there, it would normally be a case that in the mornings I will spend my time doing admin. So sorting out emails that we get from people getting in touch with me to find out how they can work with Beta, people that I'm getting in touch with in terms of stuff that we need off them. And then also me kind of checking in with the rest of the team to make sure that their days have gone okay, if there's anything that they need off me, if there's anything I need off them. And then roughly by lunchtime, I'll be able to kind of crack on with doing design work. And it kind of depends very much where we're at in a feature cycle as to whether I'll be doing kind of majority of design on an afternoon or whether I'll be doing more of the kind of dev coordination. I tend to wrap up in the office at about 4:35 and then head back home, have some dinner, and then I'll have a couple more meetings on an evening, depending on who needs to be talked to during the day and kind of, again, where we're up to in a feature cycle as to how much kind of communication we need to be having with the team. So it's busy. It's all about trying to manage your hours so you're not burning out by working from 7 a.m. through till 9 p.m. And kind of balancing that life structure. Also, one of the challenges is trying to, as a kind of co-founder in the kind of level that I'm at now, is trying to make sure that I'm still getting enough hands-on time, because I really enjoy doing that. I'm still really kind of love doing the design side of stuff, but I do now need to do quite a lot more kind of admin and people management as well. So it's just making sure that I kind of get that balance right there as well. That's one of my kind of big challenges. And similarly, the remote working, though it is amazing for the opportunities that it's brought me, it can get quite lonely. So I like challenge-wise, that is a problem. And really one of the solutions that I found with that is making sure that either I've got team members who are around and I'm communicating with those over Slack, or kind of getting in touch with peers that I've met in my time over here and kind of chatting to them throughout the day, chatting through ideas that I'm having as well. And we've kind of made a good network of quite a few freelancers who all kind of communicate with each other on an ongoing basis so that we're not kind of working on our own all the time.
That's great. That sounds, yeah, as you said, really busy and really varied. And I think, yeah, that's maybe something that you're mentioning there, particularly useful for our soon-to-be graduates who are listening. Yeah. You know, given that remote working looks like it may continue for a while, I think, as you said,
Absolutely.
there, making those networks and making those connections to kind of still have that social side and not feel lonely, I think is a really good idea.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that I haven't really appreciated how much the world would need. I kind of felt very much like it was a me problem until about a year ago, and then I was like, oh, this has actually been good training, and now I can give that advice to other people.
Definitely, yeah. So you mentioned there that you really enjoy kind of the design and the development side of things, and you know, finding time for that. Would you say that that's what you find most rewarding about your job, or is it maybe something else that you're involved in?
No, I think that is definitely one of the kind of the most rewarding things for me. I really enjoy the kind of process of watching and working on a kind of concept from the ideation stage. So really kind of working with the rest of the team, coming up with these ideas, whether it's we're talking to users about kind of issues they've been having and coming up with solutions or whatever, and then kind of taking that through from kind of some ideas that literally everybody on the team kind of comes in and talks about. So whether it's a salesperson or a marketing manager or even just the dev team and members of design, we all sit down and kind of throw ideas around, and then I'll go with design and kind of take that idea and move it into a kind of reality and solution. And I really like the kind of process of watching that kind of come to life and then be made live to the public and seeing people use it and actually feedback to us that, you know, we have solved their problems. And it is the design side of that really kind of still gets me up in the mornings, because I like using my brain to kind of work out those solutions and different design ideas in terms of the usability and the experience for the users as to how we kind of get from A to B. That's definitely where my heart still lies, for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure that's something that our students could probably relate to. Our art and design students, that having that kind of passion and that interest in that area.
Yeah, yeah.
So, in terms of being the co-founder of Beta, then, could you maybe talk us through some of the things that were most useful to you as you were going through that process of setting the company up with your other founders, and what that was like, really?
Yeah, definitely. I think my number one useful thing is actually having co-founders. Doing it on your own from watching other people do it, and I did do my own freelance work and kind of had my own company for a while as well. And doing it on your own, though, you obviously get the joy when it all goes well to kind of it's all yours. Having co-founders has been really beneficial because it gives you an opportunity to bounce ideas off people, and also allows you to balance out your skill sets. There are definitely going to be areas that I don't excel in, and I do know that my co-founders kind of were able to balance that out nicely for me. There's Mark is particularly good at bookkeeping and going out and talking to people and kind of really getting the buzz going and everything. And I, as just described, I much prefer kind of sitting down and working out the problems and working with the developers to kind of come up with ideas and like that balance. I'd rather be doing that all day than kind of having to go out and talk to people and stuff. So it's nice to have that available to me. But then similarly, I think having mentors that are outside of your company that you're building is incredibly helpful as well. I think it's very easy when you're kind of starting an own company that you'll start hitting on problems and think that they're very kind of unique to you. And that often really isn't the case. The likelihood is that the things that you're struggling with, somebody else will have been there before. And if you can kind of have a mentor or a few mentors to kind of go and approach and have a conversation with about those things, you'll start to quickly find that there are always solutions available to the problems that you're having, and that you're not the only person kind of going through it. And you might be able to work with them to come up with different ideas to what they did. They can give you advice if they think you might be heading down a path that's not right. So that's definitely useful. Other things that are super handy is be very good at bookkeeping early on. There are so many online platforms now for bookkeeping, and every country has their own. So I won't go into any particular ones, but definitely log your receipts, kind of keep track of your expenses. It's very quick for a company to start kind of spending money they don't have. And also make sure if you are doing a business where you are collecting money off people, if you're charging for a service or whatever, make sure you are following up on those invoices as much as you can. Particularly if you're a freelancer, you're running a freelance design company, chase those invoices and do not do work for free. It is very easy to just say, oh, well, I just have to do one tiny little bit of work for this person, so I won't charge them for it. And then 6 weeks later, you have lots and lots of tiny little bits of work and no money. So definitely keep logging your hours and charge accordingly for it, because nobody wants to get to the end of the week and realize that they've got no money. Not good.
No, absolutely. And I wonder if that perhaps linked in with kind of knowing your value as a freelancer or as a creative.
Absolutely.
And, yeah.
And that's really hard as well, because that's definitely something I've struggled with for years still. I've been doing this for a long time now, and there are definitely times that I feel embarrassed about approaching people and saying, well, this is how much my invoice is going to be for this work if you want to go forward with it. Remember that you know what you're doing. You've certainly been to uni and you've learned about it, and people are paying you for your experience, and you have it. So feel free to charge them accordingly for it.
Definitely, absolutely. So I suppose some of the things there, just to pick up on them, perhaps being clear about your skill set, knowing your worth, being aware of finances and having financial literacy, or working with someone who does, and perhaps organisation as well. Do you think there are any other qualities or attributes that can help new graduates to succeed, in design and media?
Yeah, absolutely. I think something that's kind of often forgotten about is actually having the drive to go out and research the people that you want to go work with and show that you have an interest in that. It's very easy to kind of become very insular when you're at uni and just kind of work on the projects that you're working on and think that's going to be enough. But if you can go out there and say that you've gone into a job interview, or you're approaching a company for a job, that you can kind of talk your way through things that they've done and why you like their stuff, and how you think you can come in and help them. It will go a long way. I think a lot of companies probably get emails all the time just being like, do you have any internships? And people aren't going in and really showing their kind of interest enough. There are so many examples now, though, of people who do amazing resumes that are particularly kind of crafted to a specific company. So go do some research on that, because they're incredible. Some of the designers who do it, I'm like, you don't even need an internship, you need a proper job. Come work for me. Yeah.
I think that's really good advice, and something that, the career service, we always try to emphasize to students as well, like really personalizing your applications and tailoring them to the company that you want to work for.
Yeah, definitely. It's I certainly pay a lot more interest to those emails that come through that show that somebody, one, knows who I am. Like, don't, if you're emailing me on my own personal email address, like, don't just say hi, Jen. And, show that you know what I actually do in my role as well. There are plenty of ways to find out who I am, especially on LinkedIn. Spend a bit of time, make me realize that you're not just sending this as a bulk email out to like 40 different companies, because, I don't want to be 40 different companies. I would like you to be coming to me specifically because you really want to work for me. Make it look like you really want to work for me is definitely the way to do it. And I definitely, this is coming from experience of going in for a job interview when I first left uni and sitting down in the job interview, and the guy asked me what my favorite piece of work was that they'd done. And they were a packaging company, and I didn't want to do packaging at all. And I'd just gone to this interview because I was given it. And I went in there and I literally had no idea how to answer. And I was just looking around the room at the different things they had on the wall and was like, that one over there. And it's just like, nah, you have no idea. And it was incredibly embarrassing for me. And to this day, I'll never forget it. So do your research for sure.
Yeah, top tip there for graduates who are applying for jobs. Always research.
It's so bad.
So maybe we've got people listening who are coming out of the University of Cumbria and are maybe unsure about their career path. So maybe they've graduated in fine art or graphic design or photography or something else, and they're not quite sure what they want to do. What would you say to those graduates about kind of crafting a career and figuring out where they want to go?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, again, I know there's still kind of a bit of controversy about internships and whether they're good. Get yourself a paid internship where possible, and just go try some things out. I think, there are definitely good ways of learning things on the job. The other option as well, which I really rate, is, if you want to do photography but you're not sure how to get into it, go and just take photos and make yourself a website and offer up your services to friends who are having weddings or any of those things, and just give it a go and see if that works. Or if you think you want to go and work in magazines, then do a photo shoot like you think you would do for a magazine. Like it's just continue all of that self-led work that you would have been doing at uni anyway, but start coming up with your own briefs and kind of do the things that you want to do and start making a kind of a portfolio of those things. And you will quickly find out whether you're actually doing something that makes you happy or whether it's something that feels a slog. If it's not enjoyable to be doing it as a kind of side task, then you're not going to enjoy it when you're having to do it for 10 hours a day and there's a deadline coming up, and it's not just a self-led project, it's something that, you know, a whole team of people are waiting for. So yeah, just make sure you pick something that feels right, but finding it. Oh, you still there? Sorry, I just got cut off. Yeah, it will make sense eventually, but just try. I think my advice there would be just try your hand at anything and see what sticks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really good advice about finding something you enjoy as well, because we spend a lot of our time at work doing our jobs. So it's got to be something that feels right. I think that's really good advice.
Yeah.
So I think that's everything from me then, Jen. Thank you so much for joining us today. And yeah, I'm sure our students will have found this really useful and really helpful.
No problem at all. Thank you. It's been nice talking to you.
You too. Thanks very much.
Thank you.